Katie, I also had the pleasure of learning more about your journey, and you've shared how your journey honors your mother's legacy. And just hearing the short of it, it's absolutely inspiring. Your wonderful mother, Leanne, immigrated from China to Minnesota in 1956 and was first working as a seamstress, making 50 cents an hour. After hosting a Chinese lunch for her sewing clients, this led to her opening her first restaurant, which she ended up selling to General Mills, which is amazing, and only to then have bought it back from them and grow it into a $50 million chain. Later on, after your own passion for Asian cooking was ignited, as you mentioned, you both had partnered on several projects. You have how many cookbooks? Oh, sorry, Katie, I think that you're on mute right now.
My cat was meowing so loudly, I put myself on mute. My 5th cookbook came out in June.
Wow. And then also you're now partnering with your daughter. And so I'd love to know, I read about how you, as you said, you were an executive, you had like lost your touch with cooking, and it was reignited, and all the like different lessons that you learned from your mom, and how that parallels now working with your daughter. So you work with your daughter for a catering business. How does, do you, what's like one of the memories or lessons that comes from that? And also just being in parallel to now you're the mom that's inspiring your daughter, and you guys have your show and your business together.
Well, it's so funny. My husband just pointed out my daughter's 13. So,
oh, wait. Okay. I thought
yeah, she's only 13.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, what? I mean, we call it Chinese child labor. You know, we make our kids work. Just kidding. They're lazy, but she's only 13. So, but it's funny because she is such a perfectionist, and she's bossy boots, and we call it Beckitude. On the show, my mother and I had together on PBS. It was called Double Happiness. It was a mother-daughter cultural and cooking show. She was a real tiger mom. And while I had all these bosses that were sharks in the entertainment industry, she was the toughest boss I've ever had, because she had such high standards for herself. She just wanted us to have the same standards, but she was tough, man. So like on our show, for example, because she hated to be on TV, I had to do all the talking, the vamping, because she was kind of like reserved. She was all about the food. So I'd say things like, so you don't have Asian hot sauce, you could substitute with Mexican hot sauce, right, Mom? And she'd go, no. So now she was just so blunt. She wasn't trying to be funny, but she was hilarious. My daughter, she's so type A. I think she'll be a producer one day, not necessarily like a chef or a talent on-air talent. She bosses me around on the show, and my husband was just like pointing out the similarity, because I'm like on both ends getting bossed around and got bossed around. But I just feel like it's just a true gift to be able to honor her legacy in this way. And my mother lives on through me and through my daughter. And she remembers things. She was only 2 when my mother passed away, but she definitely remembers making dumplings with her. She knows, pearls of wisdom that my mother would tell me. She sometimes repeats them on the show, which is so, so beautiful, so it's very sad that their twins actually were so young when she passed away, but I feel so blessed that she's able to live on. I also wanted to just point out when, General Mills bought her company, she had 30 restaurants already at this time, but she never even went to high school, which is so amazing, and I feel like even though I had this huge career before, I wasn't really very fulfilled or happy because I didn't feel like I had a purpose. And now my purpose is to honor her culinary legacy. So I just feel extremely lucky to have figured that out later in life, figured it out finally.
Yes. And something I love about the Passionistas community as well is we lived so many different lives. Like May said, we always having a passion for something. And I think that when we talk about entrepreneurship or the business world, there's so much focus in your 20s. I'm now going into my 30s. And for example, the Forbes 30 under 30 list is so, can be, can scare you a little bit, but I think I love hearing women's journeys and how, you know, you killed it as an executive, you had all that experience, and now to find your purpose, a deeper purpose into something else. And also, you know, I mean, you mentioned that your mom had over 30 restaurants, and during that time, and May, I'm sure you can speak to this too, how Asian food was not well known in the US. And, you know, what was that? I mean, do you remember her talking anything about, you know, that, you know, that growth of her restaurant and the accessibility? Because I think when I look at your cookbooks, that's something that you heavily focus on, is having Asian food be accessible, you know, to be cooked at home. And you always bring the substitutions, which I know can be very helpful for people.
Well, you know, I'm just trying to carry her torch because honestly, at one point, my mother had 1,500 employees, and this was before, you know, the explosion of the Hmong population in Minneapolis. So, like, literally 90% of her workforce were Swedish or Norwegian people. So she had to, you know, demystify it for them, break it down, make it easy, make it simple. So, you know, it was quite remarkable because people in the Midwest during this time had never really had authentic Chinese cuisine. So they were really blown away because it was so delicious and fresh and not, you know, like the chop suey and chow mein they had grown accustomed to. But in fact, in the beginning, people would ask for dinner rolls and butter at the restaurant. And my mother was just mortified, like, oh my gosh. So, you know, Andrew Zimmern, who is a Emmy Award winning, you know, chef, author, restaurateur, TV personality. He did a retrospective on my mother when she passed away from Minnesota Public Radio. And he really, you know, credited my mother for really exposing and popularizing Chinese cuisine to the Midwest. Like, she was truly a pioneer.